And to help you navigate Zoom, at the bottom of your screen, you should see an icon labeled Q&A. If you have questions regarding the fall semester or need clarity on something explained by the panelists, do not hesitate to use it. We'll be keeping close tabs on the Q&A discussion box, and we'll answer as many questions as possible in the next hour. I would like to start off by briefly going over the President's most recent update on the status of the university. The President's Cabinet and Incident Response Team have examined the 2 sets of guidelines provided by the Pennsylvania Department of Education and Board of Governors of the PA State System of Higher Education. These guidelines support student progress while protecting the health and safety of students and employees. We will continue to process these documents to be sure that they will align with our internal plans and protocols over the next few weeks. We are pleased to report that Millersville University will open as scheduled on August 24th, 2020 for the fall semester. The semester will be modeled on the hybrid approach and include a combination of in-person courses and those delivered in remote modalities. After the Thanksgiving break, online-only learning will continue until the close of the semester on December 6th. Details regarding housing, dining, athletics, and other areas are still being developed and will be communicated in the days and weeks ahead. The university will continue to monitor and respond to the phased reopening plans for the region and the Commonwealth. So let's meet our panelists. I'd like to introduce Dr. Vilas Prabhu, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Brian Hazlett, Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Bernardo Hall, Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Lauren Blevins, University Nurse Practitioner, Susan Smith-Troy, University Registered Nurse, and Dr. Scott Helfrich, Director of Housing and Residential Programs. I would also like to apologize, Dr. Wubah could not make it today due to the ever-changing times of COVID-19. He needed to be in other meetings to help us move forward the fall semester. But I would encourage you to continue using the Q&A board for us to answer your questions. So for those of you that sent in questions prior, we're going to start off with those. And again, please use the Q&A discussion box if you have any other questions. So our first question I'd like to highlight with Dr. Prabhu. The question we have is, what are the discussions regarding field placements, labs, and internships per degree requirements for students in the fall?
So just like we are looking at all instruction, for example, the hybrid instruction that you just was talking about, Ariana, is composed of online, other remote modalities, face-to-face. And similarly, I think depending upon the guidance from the state and the system office, whether you're code yellow or green, because under the code green, we are supposed to have up to 250, for example, people gather with appropriate social distancing, et cetera. So I think as far as to directly answer your question about the internships, labs, field placements, et cetera, at the present time, understanding that it's going to be green, that Lancaster County is going to be green, and the surrounding counties are green, by the governor's designation, we will, of course, have all of the previously available activities, right? Internships, field placements, clinical, will be offered as they were normally would. So there won't be any changes, in that, in the availability of those field placements, internships, and clinicals, as we did before the COVID-19. So that's our plan. However, I just want to say the same thing every single time. We do not know what the virus is going to do. If there was a change in the status of what is happening, either in our county or in the state, in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, then of course appropriate actions and decisions will be made to protect the safety of both faculty and the students and also staff involved.
Thank you. This next question is for our student affairs professionals. Due to the hybrid approach, will there be a change in tuition? If either Brian or Bernardo would like to answer that.
I can address that. I mean, right now the university As far as tuition is concerned, since we would be moving to a remote platform, the system of charges for students would be very similar to how it happened last spring. We are having conversations about would there be adjustments to any types of student fees or being related to housing as well. So those are still conversations that we're having, but I would not anticipate any kind of reduction for the 2 weeks that we would be remote towards tuition.
Oh, no.
Thank you. Following up with that too, there are students asking about what financial resources are available for students who have been out of work or are unable to meet the requirements for their tuition payments.
There's that students are still, well, first of all, good afternoon and glad to be here with you today. First and foremost, to share with you, a number of you have applied and have received funds from the CARE Act, as well as we have students that are able to apply for the Compassion Fund. We have awarded a number of students with funds from the EPIC Compassion Fund that the university initiated, and from donations from alum, faculty, staff, as well as students. We continue to award those students that have been impacted by COVID-19. So you can go online and apply, and there are criteria that you can look at. And then if you meet that criteria, please send forward your application.
Thank you, Renardo. For Scott, we do have students asking if, will they still be able to live on campus? I guess that's more related to, is there going to be a priority list?
Yes, right now the plan, from what we understand, is that we will have our normal housing program, so students will be able to seek housing. We're practically full right now. We still have spaces, so students can still apply for housing. We expect to be able to accommodate everybody. And right now there isn't necessarily a list in terms of who can and cannot receive housing.
Okay. Next question I have for health services. Will masks be a requirement, and what if I am unable to wear a mask due to a health condition?
Okay, so good question. So to maintain a safe campus community, we do encourage that students wear masks. As you can see, Sue and I are both wearing a mask because we can't maintain 6 feet of distance between the two of us. So my mask protects Sue and Sue's mask protects me. There are very few opportunities where people wouldn't be safe in wearing a mask, and I would work with them on a case-by-case basis because if their health is poorly enough that they cannot wear a mask, we need to kind of work with them to create a safer environment outside mask wearing.
Thank you. Next question I have is, will there be a graduation ceremony for spring 2020 graduates or fall 2020 graduates? And I don't know who would be able to answer that one.
Vilas, you're muted right now.
That's a very good question, and one that would, that would probably, I'll give you a couple of possibilities. But when we decided to obviously reschedule the May graduation ceremony because of the COVID-19, the cabinet agreed that we will look at a future date, sometimes in the fall, to hold the ceremony that was supposed to be held earlier in May, sometimes in the fall. However, the fall situation itself is quite uncertain and unstable. So if you ask me right now, yes, the cabinet did say that we will look at the possibility of holding a full-fledged, graduation ceremony in the fall, sometime later in the fall. But again, it all depends upon the requirements that we have to comply with, both in terms of CDC in the state and in the chancellor's office, because graduation ceremonies, generally the way we do it outside, involves almost 8,000 family and friends and students. And I don't see that such a ceremony, is totally conceivable right now in the fall. So it all, again, depends upon how we are able to manage it or not, based on all of the compliance issues.
Thank you. Staying on top of the talk with academics, what support is available for students who do not have access to technology?
Excellent question. So I think last spring, we had to go when turnover or courses within a matter of a week. We just didn't have even that much time. So we were working with faculty to get them trained. And remember, the students were already going out on spring break, and we told all of the students, hey, you got an extra week of actually, no classes. And during that period, we actually trained the faculty. We put all of the up to 800 courses that are face-to-face online. And I think there was very, very little time for us to be doing all of the other things like, training and other things that we could have done for the students. However, now we have, 2.5 months between now and on August 24th, when classes begin. So what I would suggest, and we're going to put all of this information out on the website, just like we had the COVID-19 website. Now we're going to have a website that a portal developed very quickly to talk about the fall opening, all of the FAQs, the frequently asked questions. So all of these questions that you are asking right now, we're taking notes, and also faculty have questions, staff have questions, parents have questions. All of these are going to be accumulated and put on that website. But to answer your question, I think students who feel they need either training, equipment, access to the internet, etc., I think they should contact the help desk right now, or contact anyone, even their vice presidents like Renato and others, if they have a need, so that we can immediately get those students on a list to make sure that we are going to be able to assist them, because we do have more time now between now and August 24th to help students, which we didn't when we switched in March.
Ariana, if I may, add to what the provost has indicated. He's right on point as far as what we are trying to provide. And also for those that were able to apply for the Compassion Fund, we have secured laptops for loaner for students to be able to use from now until graduation, until their specific graduation by the year that they have come in. So if they are new students or returning students, we have provided some laptops on loan that students will be able to utilize for their time or their duration at Millersville until graduation. Also, those individuals that are admitted through some of our programs that we have this year, whether it's students from PSSI or students that are part of the Gear Up program, or those students who may very well be part of our Lancaster Partnership program. You should contact, as the provost indicated, individuals in those respective areas. So please contact Darlene Newman or Christina Williams in order to get information, about assistance that we're able to provide. Millersville is reaching out in every way possible to assist our students, even looking at the possibility of hotspots for us to assist for those that may still be working remotely. So it just as stated, please contact the university to make the things known as far as what you may need, and we will reach out in whatever way that we can.
Thank you. Our next question is a two-part. Will class sizes be smaller due to maintaining social distancing, or will they be able to stay the same because of wearing masks?
Yeah, let me take that one, because we've been spending a lot of time on thinking about how we safely provide instruction in the face-to-face modality. So there are a number of ways we are trying to do that. First of all, let's say there's a class of 40 students. Let's say capacity is 35. And generally these classes are packed because there's not much room. So if we are going to have instruction with the faculty in the front and 30, 35 students in a classroom, there's just no way that we can do social distancing, period. That is not a very good environment to offer instruction at this time. So almost all of our planning, unless it's a very large facility, and we are literally able to put these chairs, in a way that we are, practicing social distancing about a 6-foot kind of distance. Most classes are going to be reduced in size. What exactly how that configuration is will depend upon each class to make sure that the students are protected, the faculty are protected. Also, not only is just the masks are going to be required in a class, even with the social distancing, because we have learned from all the research that's already out there that enclosed environments are the worst possible places for transmission of COVID. Even when your masks are there, simply because you're spending a lot of time in one place, that many bodies. So therefore, we have to be extremely careful. The other thing is that we have not put out all of the details, but there will be a very extensive amount of work that will be done in terms of cleaning up the desks before the next class comes in, and making sure that the classroom is literally sanitized before the next class comes in. So to answer your question, the first question, more than likely almost every single class will be reduced in capacity. However, what we are thinking about is, let's say a class has 30 students and it meets Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It could be that we could have 12 to 15 students in that class at a given day, and then the following day, or on like a Tuesday, Thursday class, if you split up a 30% class into 2 15s, the Tuesday 15 students would meet, and the other 15 would actually watch the video streaming of the live class in their dormitory or some other place where they are removed from the class. And on Thursday class, the next team would come in, the remaining students would come in, face to face with the faculty member, and the previous 15 people would be remote watching the video or something, and they still have the ability to interact with the faculty, because we're going to equip over 60 classrooms, 60 to 65 classrooms right now with full technology for video streaming and interaction remotely. So if a faculty member is teaching, let's say 15 people, and he or she has 45 students in addition for a 60-person class, the other 45 or 40 can be in their residential residence halls and watch the actual live class synchronously at the same time. So we're doing everything possible to give the students the real ability to interact with the faculty, many times face-to-face in the classroom or via video streaming, where they can still interact with the faculty.
Thank you. Health Services, would you like to follow up with any other comments?
Okay, sorry about that. No, we agree. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, social distancing is super important, but when you are in a classroom, it does make it quite challenging because without getting too technical, we talk about viral dose, so how much you're inhaling if there was an infected person in the room. So mask wearing is super important in those settings, but also making sure that we're properly distanced. So ELS is incorrect in saying that we should probably reduce class size to produce, a more safe environment, but this is why we strongly encourage students to wear masks.
Thank you. Next question is, will there still be a homecoming or week of welcome? Will festivities still begin throughout the fall semester?
I'm happy to take that if you like. I think for us right now, that's something that we're continuing to discuss. There's a small team that has been formed even more so to look into specifics of events that are occurring next fall. Actually, Provost Prabhu is leading some of that effort. So we're working on that. There's details to come. But right now, the things that we're looking at are the bigger picture things that to impact our student safety and really just generally opening the campus up for instruction in the fall is our main focus right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, week of welcome, different from the homecoming. Definitely, there are programs and activities that will take place during the year. Our campus life, as well as housing and residential programs, as well as CHEP, and looking at the Intercultural Center, will all have programs that they are providing. They will make sure that they are providing those through the appropriate social distancing that will be implemented in all activities and events that we have. But do not even think about that there will be any less of programs and events taking place during the fall semester as well as the spring, just that we will use the guidelines provided by ACHA, which is the American College Health Association, as well as CDC, to make sure that we're providing those, meeting and exceeding the expectations that are provided for having those events on a college campus and ensuring that we have the appropriate social distance implemented. And as long as you are, and indicated by our nurse practitioner, Nurse Blevins, as long as you assist us, we will be able to meet you halfway by providing these great activities and events that will be able to take place. But we'll need your cooperation. And that means face masks, washing hands, and doing some of those things in order for us to have the activities that we would like to present, and that you would like to see presented. So those student organizations that are on campus, they will be able to provide activities and events, but they will have to work under the guidelines of what Campus Life provides, as well as some of the other departments and organizations that are coordinating those events.
Thank you. We do have some questions regarding student lodging, and Scott, I'm not sure if you'd be able to answer any of this, but students are asking if there are going to be restrictions placed on student lodging.
I have not heard that. The SLI, the Student Lodging Incorporated folks would be able to answer those particular questions. So I encourage you, if you have specific questions, to reach out to their staff at their office. But as of right now, I don't hear of any specific restrictions.
Okay. And there was a follow-up question to that as well, is what cleaning will take place on campus to ensure the safety of those living in campus residence halls?
Yes. I can take that only as a broad, because this has been such an important issue that we've been discussing forever, and we will continue to discuss until the day students arrive on campuses, because that is extremely, extremely important in terms of making sure that the spaces are, safe for operations of any kind, whether it's the dining halls or whether it's, residential halls, whether it's classrooms, whether it's offices. So there's we have some really, really fortunate to have very good experts, not only, staff and administration, but also in the faculty area. You heard about Dr. Seppi Yalda, who is on national, review boards, et cetera, for emergency management, exactly what we are in right now. So I think the students the idea is that there is no 100% guarantee when you have a pandemic with a virus like this. There is no 100% guarantee of anything. As you already know, a lot of the spread is being caused by those individuals that are asymptomatic. They don't show any symptoms, but they're still spreading the virus, right? So I think the point for us is we are learning more and more about the virus, that it's actually not as much spread through the surfaces as it is directly from humans to humans, and therefore the masking and the social distancing is the two most important things we can do to keep people safe. However, given that, then we are also putting a lot of effort on making sure that all of these so-called areas, living learning areas, instructional areas, athletics, all of these areas, as much as possible, we try to keep them clean and safe for students and faculty and staff, and the university community to interact. So there's a lot in there, and so therefore I was going to answer you in a very broad way, rather than saying we're going to have hand sanitizers and all of the other stuff that we are thinking about, thermometers maybe in some cases, who knows. But the main thing is we want to keep everybody safe and mitigate as much as possible the spread of the, if there is somebody's infected, so they don't spread the virus to other people.
Thank you.
Ariana, to add again to support what the provost stated, health services probably will jump in and speak to that. But during the spring semester, health services in collaboration with housing and residential programs made sure that every student on campus had a care kit, a health care kit. And in those, they provided, of course, gloves, and they provided masks, but they provided a portable or a disposable thermometer. So I know that in the fall, they will look at providing support for the students that reside on campus, and looking at something that they are able to coordinate with housing and residential programs to ensure that students do have some of the equipment that they may need to continue with healthy practices during the academic year. And as stated, we will do everything we can to meet students halfway, to support them, and to make sure that the environment is properly sanitized. And they will have to help us to ensure that as well, by making sure they dispose properly of any waste and materials that they have.
Thank you. Health services, did you have any comments on that? And did you also want to follow up with the question that you just answered in the Q&A box?
Yes, so first to go along with what Renata had said, we are working on getting thermometers that are, we typically have disposable thermometers that we give out to students, but we are looking to get some that are reusable that we can give students on campus. But along with that needs to be a great deal of education, because temperature alone is not the only screening. You can be afebrile or not have temperature and still be sick. So a lot of education has to go into what the signs and symptoms are, and if you are sick, to stay home and to call us. Health service is here. We have been here this whole time, and we will be here in the fall. We are doing, we recommend, and so we are doing walk-ins to reduce the foot traffic through here to keep this a safe environment. We do still see students in here, but we do a phone triage first to ensure that it's safe to bring the student in. And then to go along with the question that we just answered on the form was asked about wearing masks when outside. Currently, yes, we are still wearing masks outside if 6 feet of distance cannot be maintained. So as you can see, we're wearing masks. All the faculty or the staff that are currently working on campus are all wearing masks. And just so you all know, we're directly screening all employees that are on campus. They go through, we have a little drive-through set up outside, health services, and we're checking temperatures and doing a short health screening on all employees. And if they pass, they get a little band that they wear on their wrist that just shows that they were screened and that they're safe to be on campus.
Thank you. Next question I have here, are there any ideas on how the dining services will work like grab and go or reduce seating in the dining halls?
I can start, and Brian may be able to, and Scott may be able to assist. I think that to share with you at this point, it's still being discussed, but it will be a combination. There will be some opportunities for the grab and go, as well as individuals eating in the different locations, dining locations that we have on our beautiful campus. So not just Gordonier, but some of the other locations may provide meals for students and for faculty and staff at different locations throughout our campus. So that hasn't been finalized yet, but they are working through those guidelines and developing how they shall reach out to the students, faculty, and staff once we return for the fall semester, beginning during that week of orientation, and then as the classes begin the week of August 24th.
Great. Are students encouraged to bring their own cleaning products to help get rid of COVID?
I would say yes. Students should normally bring all the cleaning products that they need, particularly for their own specific areas, including their bathrooms. We'll be putting out information, educational information on the cleaning products that you should think about having, and then also making sure that you work with your suite mates to make sure that you're taking care of your specific area. But yes, we encourage students to do that.
One of our biggest questions we have here are fall sports in action this fall.
Yeah, so I'm happy to talk a little bit about that. We are continuing to get guidance from the NCAA or the NCAA, and also guidance from our PSAC conference on that. We are moving forward with taking steps to prepare for the fall semester for sports. But we're working very closely with our campus community to make sure that we're doing that in a safe way for our student athletes. There still has not been decisions related to fans coming to the games. I think some of that will be dependent upon which stage we are. If we're in the green stage, then as many of you know, we're really only permitted to have about 250 individuals at gatherings. So we would have to figure out how would we do that, practicing social distancing. And then we're also working very closely with our athletic trainers to make sure that we're doing things in a safe manner, preparing for the student athletes to come back to campus. So we're planning full-fledged ahead that we're going to have fall sports, unless we see something otherwise. But we're working in a very safe way to make sure that we do it in the best way possible for all those involved.
Thank you. Next question I have is, will there be changes in student employment opportunities on campus?
I'm not sure exactly, if you can be a little bit more specific, whoever wrote that question in terms of, is it because of the COVID-19, or I'm not sure exactly. See, the student employment opportunities will be opened up as much as possible again, in all offices, that have that need student employment, or offices in classroom, or what have you, departmental offices. But again, the same situation applies. If the students are going to be in person on campus, then those guidances that we will apply to every single individual on campus, whether it's wearing face masks, social distancing, etc., will apply. But overall, yes, student employment opportunities will absolutely be available and offered to students who actually work either on campus or remotely. So we just like we did in the spring, a lot of our students actually who were able to work remotely from either from their homes, etc. We allowed them to do that. The supervisors of those students are the ones who are going to decide whether work can be done remotely or not for the students. And if that is an agreement there, then we can let human resources know which students can work remotely and which students actually need to be on campus to work. Those that are on the campus, again, we will have to provide all the safety measures just like we offer everybody else.
So just to touch on that briefly, I mean, we're already bringing some students back early to work in the admissions office to start to conduct tours of our campus. So we're having tour guides coming back towards the end of this month into the early part of July to start to allow prospective students and current students that are looking at the university to come back in very small groups to take a tour of the campus to make sure that this is a place that they want to continue their education.
And also, for example, the library is now, physically closed, but it's completely open remotely. So many of our students who normally work in the library are working remotely, to help students, faculty, and staff with the information they need and the resources they need from the library. So we will continue in that format for the coming year in the fall. But I guess there will be, more students on campus simply because we're going to open up, a lot of the offices, et cetera, as possible.
Another question we have here is, will there be a fall break with the hybrid semester?
Well, I can tell you what I know so far. The way this, we're not exactly announced the full scenario and but I think that if the current scenario where we start on August 24th and end with the end of the semester with the Thanksgiving break, the fall break will be eliminated because we don't have enough days. The state requires that each student gets so many hours of instruction per semester, legally. That's a statute. That's a state statute that we must oblige. So therefore, if you're trying to get all of our hours in, because the last 2 weeks, one of the weeks after the Thanksgiving break is the exam week, and therefore there's only 1 week between after the Thanksgiving break and final exams. There's only 1 week, and that's going to be online. That's what Dr. Vice President Hazler was talking about. So if we decide, to go with the scenario that I just described, the hybrid scenario that starts August 24th, ends with this Thanksgiving break, then I think the fall break will be gone.
Okay. So what will determine a change to remote for fall semester, and when would that be communicated to the campus? So right now, I guess we are saying that we're planning to open per usual August 24th, but what will be that determinant of whether it goes remote or not, and when will that be communicated?
Yeah, I think I want to be extremely careful to be very, very transparent and correct, accurate here. When we say that we will have, we welcome all the students. Welcome students, to the campus. As I mentioned again and again, we still need to make sure that we protect the safety and and the well-being of all our campus community. So therefore, even in regular, let's say COVID wasn't there at all, we would still have a substantial number of our courses offered online. We have a lot of our students that actually do face-to-face also prefer online and other modalities. This fall, because we have an additional pressure to lower the number of students on campus, to get the social distancing, et cetera, we are trying to get as many students as possible, right, on campus to experience the on-campus, life, et cetera, especially for our freshmen and sophomores that are coming in new. So therefore, I think there will be a mixture of instruction. A large portion of that, at least a minimum of 50%, will be in the form of online and other modalities, remote modalities, and the ones that are actually held on campus also will be hybrid, simply because I just mentioned to you that our full classroom capacities may not be able to be used. To answer your question specifically, though, when would we decide if we're going to go all remote? That thing would happen just like it happened in spring. If we were to have a major flare-up of the COVID-19, either in the state or on our campus, And therefore we will not, and that circumstance would not allow us to keep, all of the campus community safe. Then that determination will be made at that time. But a lot of other folks will be, jumping in there, including the chancellor's office, the president, everybody else, in terms of saying, okay, we cannot have anybody on campus anymore, just like we did in the spring. And then, of course, we'll have to go all remote. That's the contingency. That is not what we are planning for. What we are planning for is to get a very, organized way of getting students back on campus and keep them safe, and actually keep the academics, going in terms of the instructions.
Thank you. What are the ways that you will enforce the use of masks?
I'll start out. One of the things that we would empower, obviously, are some of our student leaders, as well as obviously our peer educators, our RAs, as well as student government, but mainly from peer to peer. We have peer to peer that will develop standards of operation. Then, of course, we would look at the environment that is and necessary, especially as the provost and our vice president indicated, depending on what the governor indicates for the state of Pennsylvania as far as guidelines, and then our chancellor. And of course, then it rolls down to what our university may implement. Then we would look at obviously student conduct and community standards, that office. But this is something that we will definitely have to kind of empower everyone to work with each other in order for these standards to be implemented and to be carried out. So it is everyone's responsibility to ensure the health and well-being of their peers and of others. So faculty will be involved, staff, and of course our leaders, student leaders, to assist in this process, because everyone may be in a situation where they see someone, and I think as indicated by, again, our nurse practitioner, as well as some of the members on the panel, it has to be something that everyone works with in order to assist in creating the safe and healthy environment for everyone that is on the campus. Because what you do impacts others. And you heard that with nurse practitioner and a nurse there, they are wearing masks, one for themselves to protect the other, and the other person is wearing the mask to protect themselves and the other person that is in the room. So that's what we're going to have to do across the campus as far as working with one another and ensuring one another's health. We are our keepers. We are our friends and neighbors' keepers. So that's what it will become once we arrive on the campus proper.
All right. If a student has health challenges that put them at risk, if they return to campus, do they have the option to do remote learning for all their courses in the fall, even if the course is offered face-to-face?
So this is again Dr. Prabhu here. This question, I think I just answered that one of the very similar question on the Twitter today, and the answer is yes. However, I want to qualify that, because what again I will repeat is, because of the fact that we can't bring all 8,000 students on campus for face-to-face instruction, we will have a very large number of vast majority of our classes will be already online. So a student will have ample opportunity and choice. If they feel like they don't want to come on campus for any reason and still want to complete their 15 hours or 18 hours remotely, as being a provost and I working with the deans and chairs and faculty continuously, I think I can assure that, a vast majority, 99% of our students would be able to find right from the beginning when they're planning their semester and they say, okay, I'm not going to go to campus. I'm going to be, doing remote. And if they find, like, for example, if they can find 3 courses and they want to take 5, and the 2 of the courses they're taking are face-to-face, I think we will work with the individual students then to see how they can work out with the faculty member, right? And of that course, to see whether those students whose health is compromised, for them to come on campus, that we work with them. So many of these things I think we already know. The reason I'm not saying that every student who wants all of their courses online, and if 1 or 2 of them are taught in person, how do we will try to accommodate the students. But I'm pretty sure that because we are going to offer a vast number of these courses online to begin with, right, the students will not have any problem finding those courses or needing the ones they need to move forward.
Thank you. So my next question is, are there going to be increases in health resources, I guess, as this pertains to possibly counseling or any appointments needed when students come back in the fall?
Share that again. What's the question, Ariana?
Yeah, so the question is, will there be an increase in health resources? And I guess that is pertaining to possibly any counseling services or any health appointments that are needed at health services.
Well, health services can respond, but just as we made the accommodation in the spring semester for those students, we provided telemedicine for counseling. We did that for health services, where individuals were able to call in, no matter where they were located in the state of Pennsylvania or even outside of the state. But those who are on the campus, as Lauren, nurse practitioner Lauren indicated, they will still be able to come in, but they will just have to call to be triaged first, just like you have to do right now with your physician that you may have in the community. You usually call, make contact, and then they schedule a time, for you to come in. But health services can speak to that even more. But we were able to address that in the spring, and we will be able to address that definitely in the fall semester.
Right, and we're still here. We will be here. The health services setup will be a little bit different based on what color we are in this county. You may not be entering through the front door. You may be entering through a side door, exiting through the front door. So while things will be the same, the services we provide will be the same, there will be changes in how we do that in order to maintain the health and safety of students and staff. But we've been able to, as Renardo said, see patients remotely. Both our providers this summer have been able to see patients remotely. The nurses still do nurse visits remotely. And if someone is staying at home and working remotely because of a health issue, we can hook them up with the resources that they need. And there are some things we will be able to help them with. But the big change will be that people will not be able to just walk in.
Thank you. I'm going to follow this out with our this last question here, as it may bring more than one voice into the picture. So with the current climate and narrative around COVID-19 and various injustices, what is the institution doing to address emotional and mental well-being for students, particularly students from marginalized backgrounds?
Well, there are a number of resources, and then if VP Hazlett or even any of the folks from CHEP, really that is everyone's business. It is not just located or addressed through the Intercultural Center support that they receive from the director or from some of the peer educators that they have employed in the past, or graduate assistants that work with them. It is something where those individuals will be able to receive support from all of our resources, whether they are seeking out counseling and advising. Obviously, our counseling center will be able to assist. Our health service is able to assist. The Center for Health Education and Promotion are able to work with the students. We have individuals that can serve as advisors, and they may be able to speak to their academic advisor, depending on what type of support that we are speaking to, as far as marginalized as well as majority students. There are individual resources available on the campus. We just need to be able to hear from those students, meaning that they will need to voice their needs to someone so that they can direct them to the appropriate resources that are available on the campus. And then at that point, we will be able to then maybe direct them specifically to someone that may be able to meet or exceed their needs. But I do think that we have trained professionals on the campus that are able to assess some of those needs after hearing the voices of those students, and then to make sure that they are appropriately referred to the best resource on campus. That's whether it's in the academic classroom or if it's in some of the academic support areas, as well as the student development area. There are folks that are available and more than willing to meet them where they are.
I would say that, just to add to Renardo's points, is that, you know, the work around this is a university effort. The cabinet is extremely focused on working to improve the campus for marginalized students, and we are really working hard to make sure that we're focused on that within our own division. We have a wonderful team of individuals that work around this particular topic on a regular basis. We've had conversations throughout the year of how we can improve as a division, because as a division, we're often very focused on the work that occurs outside the classroom, but we work very much in partnership with Dr. Prabhu and his team, with our faculty doing the work inside the classroom. So as Renardo said, it's not the work of one person, but it's the work of a community. And a community as a whole, we are extremely focused on this and improving the environment for our students.
And we do have experts, you know, in various areas. We, you know, definitely have, as indicated, there are faculty members that are there for support. There are, you know, the individuals from SAS, Student Access and Support Services Department, Ms. Darlene Newman, as well as Christina Williams, and the support team that they have addressing some of our marginalized students that have been admitted through the university but receive support directly through that program. There are a number of folks that may be able to assist, and that's where our peer educators who see our students every day and who are able to then know what resources are available, and then hopefully we'll be able to direct the individuals to the appropriate resources on campus. So that's why we have a cadre of trained individuals on our campus who are able to assist, but there are people who specialize in addressing the needs of marginalized communities, and those individuals will be empowered to be able to provide assistance.
And this is just to add, follow up on Renardo's remarks. I think just an hour ago, I don't know, the faculty, for example, you know, there's the President's Commission on Cultural Diversity and Inclusion, and there are a couple of other commissions. Dr. Tyrone Washington is trying to organize a gathering of all university faculty and staff under the auspices of that umbrella. Because I think not only is what Ariana, what you're asking about helping students and all of these, the the trauma that's caused in the whole thing, but also having this general conversations, frank conversation to educate a lot of individuals in our community. I mean, in our community, meaning the campus community and the community at large. So I think that will go out, for example, constantly the office of the CDO, the Chief Diversity Officer, Dr. Felicia, Brown Haywood, also is doing a lot of these kinds of, functions. So yeah, I think it's right now because of the inability for people to gather, most of these things will happen virtually, unfortunately. And so whenever we organize these things, this is where the effort is going to be spent. If there are going to be conversations like this, then they will be virtually, and that's a different way of organizing it. And so that'll go out. That information will go out today, as a matter of fact. We'll have a faculty staff, talk about the events of the last, month and a half in terms of what's happening in our country and locally.
And Ariana, thank you, Provost. Also, Ariana, as you know, our communities have been impacted adversely. The Black and Brown communities and poor communities have been affected adversely by COVID-19, which has showed drastically the disparity as far as folks receiving health care. Well, that is where our health service will be able to provide that assistance and that care for individuals where it may be difficult to get to care in the community or the larger community where they live, and those that are in or around campus. That provides an environment that is supportive and that is looks to develop community and may very well allow them greater access to some of their needs or meeting some of their needs. So since some of us are a part of that community that may have been asked through that question, we are available as well, in addition to help serve. But we do recognize that marginalized communities have been affected adversely by this virus, as well as what the provost just indicated, the things that have happened in the last 2 to 3 months nationwide that we are very cognizant of. And you saw that it was addressed by our president, by the Diversity and Social Justice Office, and by Student Affairs and various offices that we are aware, cognizant, and we are here for them to be able to receive that kind of support.
Unknown caller.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for their responses today, and especially our panelists for taking time out to respond to you all live. I know there were a few questions that were unable to be answered, but I will be sure to get those responses to you and be sure that they are put in both Bill Daily and all our social media accounts. If you have any specific questions, feel free to email us at chep@millersville.edu, and we will be sure to get those answers to you. And again, thank you to our panelists for joining us today, and for our attendees as well for getting together with us and sending in your questions. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Stay safe.